Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, here with my brief thoughts on Turning Red. This was directed by Domee Shi, who had previously won an Oscar for her short from Pixar called Bao. Watch it if you haven't, or don't if you ever want to eat a dumpling again. And this is the latest from Pixar Animation Studios, streaming exclusively on Disney+, even though it should be in theaters, but that's a whole different can of worms that I don't want to get into right now. It tells the story of a young girl named Mei Lin. She is 13 years old and she's got all of these positive things going for her. She's got her friends group. She loves this boy band called Four Town. She does excellent in school and she loves her parents. Everything's going swell until she discovers that when she gets really excited, she turns into a red panda. Oh, and puberty, I guess. This movie has been getting a lot of attention from everything from the whole decision to move it from theaters to exclusively streaming on Disney+, which myself and my friend Jacob on our podcast Life in the Movies, we discussed about at length, and we were not fans of the decision, and I still am not. To when the movie was actually released, I saw a lot of positivity towards it. However, I also saw some reviews that were not exactly as positive. They could be construed as negative, including reviews from people that I trust, notably my good friend Rachel over at Rachel's Reviews. She said in her review that this was the first Pixar movie that she outright disliked. Keep in mind that Cars 2 also exists. But as usual, I went into this movie with an open mind because after all, even though I look at other reviews just for research purposes, at the end of the day, I try my hardest not to let them sway my decisions. My thoughts are my thoughts, simple and plain. And now that I have seen this movie, I think some of the negative aspects are a little overhyped, but I don't think it's as good as some people make it out to be. It is very much a mixed bag for me. I've seen some reviews out there complain about the fact that there is not just a thinly veiled message, but a pretty overt scene where Mei Lin's first period. I do not have enough experience to comment on it any further, so I'm just going to say it was fine and leave it at that. And quite honestly, that whole subplot, if we're going to call it that, is not really a problem for me. I have problems with the movie, just not that. But first, the good. It's Pixar animation, so most of the animation is really solid. There is some stuff that I just wasn't a fan of, but I'll talk about that later. Most of the animation, though, is really, really good. I mean, it's Pixar, so of course it is. I also really liked the character of Mei Lin. I thought I actually related to her in some circumstances. I loved her and her friend group. I loved that they geeked out over this boy band, which is called Four Town, despite there being 5 members. I guess 5 neat was already taken. Whenever Mei Lin was on screen, and she is on screen quite a bit, I was rooting for her. Who I was not rooting for was her mother. Now, in my research for this review, I found that Domee Shi basically told a lot of aspects from her real life and put them into this movie. I have absolutely no problem with that. But the mother in this movie is just about unbearable. And as much context as possible, her character is very worried about her daughter becoming the panda, and the panda curse, if you will. So her actions are done from a place of love. But with that in mind, some of the actions that she does in this movie are just way too over the top. For example, there is a scene where Mei Lin is doing her homework and she accidentally draws a little pencil drawing of this boy. His name is Devin. He works at a convenience store. He wears a bucket hat. You won't be able to miss him. And when her mother finds this drawing, is like, "Who is this person?" And lady, it's a pencil drawing. Like, What's the problem here? And she literally takes Mei Lin to this convenience store and chastises this kid in front of God and everybody in the store. And I was just like, oh wow, Mei Lin, I'm so uncomfortable for you. And I guess what makes this even worse is that Mei Lin and Devin don't really have that much, like, on-screen, like, scenes together. You could pretty much count them on one hand and have fingers to spare. It's, like, the last that we see of Devin in this movie is when the panda first appears. Mei Lin is running across the city as the panda. She's running back to her house, and she sees Devin, and she does the whole "Awooga" thing, because apparently she's a big fan of 1930s Looney Tunes cartoons. That's the last we see of him. You could have edited Devin out of this whole movie, and I don't think there would have been much change. Also, like I mentioned, some of the animation is just low-key terrifying. Whenever someone is shocked in the movie, their eyes get about this big. It's so, like, it's when they're shocked, they get this big, and then when they're, like, in love with something, they get this big, and they get big old sparkles in their eyes. Whenever a person in this movie would get big eyes, my mind would immediately flash to Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was just waiting for Sokka to run on screen high on cactus juice and saying that it's the quenchiest. Other than Mei Lin, probably my favorite character in this movie is the dad. He's not seen in the movie much, but there's a great scene between him and Mei Lin that's honestly one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. I loved this guy. And then there is the third act. And folks, I do not remember the last time I have had this much of an acid trip watching the third act of a movie, but it legit felt like I had dropped all the acid. Because, and I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say it involves a pretty big kaiju battle between, like, Mei Lin and her mom. You'll know when you see it. It takes place in the Sky Dome, you know, where Hulk Hogan fought the Ultimate Warrior, that place. It involves the non-union, legally distinct Backstreet Boys, 4-Town. And then there is a scene where Mei Lin twerks in front of her mother. I do not know what peeves me more, the fact that the twerking in fact happened, or the fact that this movie takes place in 2002 and twerking was not invented until 2014. Yes, I am depressed that I know that fact. And believe me, I'm not trying to dog on this movie unnecessarily. I'm not trying to be some kind of a troll. I'm not trying to be like, oh, you like this movie? Oh, you're stupid. Like, no, I'm not trying to be that person. I have been seeing a lot of love for this movie, and honestly, I do understand why. So if you really do like this movie, I totally get it. For me, though, it was very much a mixed bag. However, there is genuine quality in here, so for that, I'm going to give it a good rating. This is definitely not meant for me, but it is clearly meant for a lot of other people. And like I said, if you do like this movie, I hope that more power to you. And I hope that you love the hell out of this, for lack of a better word. I hope you all don't hate me for this review, but these are my genuine feelings. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a troll, because there are plenty of trolls on this website, and I'm not trying to be one of them. So I ask you, honestly, what were your thoughts on Turning Red? Leave them in the comments. I would love to read what you would have to say. Also, stay tuned for this Sunday, where I will be dropping my first reaction to Requiem for a Dream, where it's literally about people having acid dreams. So it's a weird kind of double feature, even though it's really not. But stay tuned for Sunday. That'll be on the channel. And if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below. And if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.